Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. This is State Senator Mallory McMorrow, and welcome to another edition of This Week with Mallory. This week, this is pre-recorded, so a live Q&A will once again be unavailable, but we, as always, accept questions submitted in advance, and you can always email us with questions. So I want to jump right into it, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because there are a lot of updates to share with you. First up, wanted to share the news that the state health department and the MDHHS has officially rescinded their recommendation of widespread masking in indoor locations. And I know that is going to be hard for a lot of people, welcome news for a lot of people. We anticipated that it would generate a lot of response. But one thing that the health department pointed out was the steep drop in cases and hospitalizations in the wake of the Omicron variant. It has dropped significantly statewide and is a positive sign, I think, versus this time last year, potentially, where there was limited vaccination out there, that this is a positive, encouraging sign. So this is just an update on indoor masking is no longer recommended in most indoor places. The department does, however, recommend continued masking in high-risk public settings, including long-term care facilities, shelters, prisons, jails, and hospitals. And then of note, this is something that I think about constantly as a mom of a 1-year-old who can't yet get vaccinated. If you yourself are immunocompromised, if there's somebody in your family that you're close to that cannot yet get vaccinated, use your best judgment, right? So a quote that I want to share from Director Hertel from MDHHS says, quote, individuals and families should assess their own risk for COVID-19 exposure and transmission and make choices about when it makes sense to wear masks. We want to ensure individuals and local communities have the information and tools that they need to make choices for their families based on their personal situation and local community conditions. We continue to strongly urge all residents ages 5 and older to get the safe and effective COVID-19 vaccine and to get boosted when eligible, as the vaccine continues to be our best defense against the virus. And what I'm showing you right here is MDHHS also released some new guidance as we are transitioning into a phase of the pandemic, hopefully, that we are transitioning into treatment of this virus as more endemic in the same way that we treat the flu. I think that what is widely accepted by public health experts around the globe right now is that COVID-19 is going to be with us. We are not necessarily eradicating it, so we need to start treating it like we do many major viruses. So we are now in what the health department is considering the recovery post-surge phase. And as you can see here, this is potentially a cycle in the same way that the flu is, where we have an annual uptick of flu cases, we respond accordingly. And I think this is the kind of habit we are going to have to evolve into in our own mindset of thinking about COVID-19. So we can relax some of our mitigation efforts when we are in this post-surge phase. But as always, be ready to pivot, to get vaccinated, to wear masks, use your best judgment. If you are in indoor crowded places and you feel comfortable doing so, please go ahead and do so. But we will share this and more information on our page as well. Moving into our next topic of discussion, last week we shared with you Director Harkins, the governor's budget director, shared his presentation of Governor Whitmer's budget proposal for the year 2023, which officially kicks off the Michigan budget cycle. One of the most important things that we do in the legislature is get together and appropriate the $60 to $70 billion or so that creates the state budget. And one of the reasons that we wanted to show you the presentation in full last week was just to get an understanding of the breadth and depth of a state budget that covers so much for all 10 million residents, and to understand this kickstarts the process. So we wanted to share this really helpful timeline. This is actually a process that goes throughout the entire year. I think because this is such a large part of our responsibility in state government and in the legislature is to put the state budget together. we wanted to share what this process looks like. So February in February, this is actually 2022, so this is a slide from last year. But in February, the governor releases her proposed budget, and we encourage you to check it out because we want to hear from you as constituents what in that proposal you really like, what you want to see move forward, so that we can advocate for those things to be a part of the budget discussions. Then, as you see here, February through April, the appropriations subcommittees in the House and the Senate meet to craft their own versions of the annual spending plan. So, a lot of people might see what was in the governor's announcement and think that's it, that's what's in the budget. But that is just her vision, the governor's vision of what she would like to see in a budget. Now it goes to the legislature. So, the legislature gets together in both the House and the Senate, crafts their budgets, and this goes throughout a number of months. This is the best time for public input. So make sure you're contacting our office, you are contacting your elected official's office if you're not in our district, to talk about the things that you want to see in the budget. Again, I encourage you to check out the governor's proposal as a starting point, and then we want to hear your input on what you really liked out of that proposal so that we can continue to advocate for those things. Moving into April and May, the subcommittee budgets move through both the House and the Senate with possible amendments at both the committee level and on the floor during debate. So this is as both the House and the Senate are working towards their final budget proposals. We're moving through the cycle. Throughout this entire process, you can always keep up with us, advocate with your elected officials on what's working, what's not working. Is there something in there that you see that has been proposed that is egregious that you don't want in the budget? Let us know those things as well. Late May to early June, the joint House and Senate conference committees get together to iron out differences between the budgets passed between the House and the Senate. Conference committee changes are sent to all legislators for final approval, but amendments are not allowed at that point. So this is when we are getting towards the final budget that all of us, all 38 of the senators in the Senate, will vote on the floor. So appropriations committees, these are the committees that meet to iron out the details of the budget. Just so everybody watching this knows, I serve on 3 policy committees, so I do not serve on any of the appropriations committees. So the way that we advocate is we put in our running list of priorities and budget asks. We make sure our appropriations chairs and colleagues are aware of those. We continue to push for those to try to get into the final negotiations. But my input on the budget itself is really when these final budgets come to the floor for the vote by the whole Senate, and I get to vote yes or no. It's an up or down vote when it gets to us. And a few years ago, the legislature passed legislation that would require these budgets be done by July 1st. This is something that's really important, particularly to our school districts who start planning their budgets for the following year, beginning in July and throughout the summer. Since we passed this, however, we have not hit that as a timeline in the legislature. So we passed that legislation to require budgets be done by July 1st, and then COVID hit. So we have been working kind of up to our traditional deadlines, and the budget is due constitutionally. The Constitution of the state of Michigan requires that the budget be finalized by October 1st. So that is the real hard deadline that you are going to see. And the way that it works is the governor presents the initial budget recommendation. The legislature works throughout this entire process. And then we in the House and the Senate vote on the final budgets that get final approval, up yes or no. And then that is the budget from the legislature that goes back to the governor's office. The governor, like all pieces of legislation, has final say on budgets, just like any pieces of legislation. The executive also has some creativity and some powers like line item vetoing of things that you may have seen in the past. There are certain things that are struck out as deemed unconstitutional. Some things can be amended and moved on, but you're getting pretty close to the final budget once you see what is passed out of the legislature. Then the governor signs the budgets into law, and that is what goes into effect for the year 2023. So we wanted to share this with you. We will keep you appraised of progress as we continue moving on in the budget cycle. All right. Next up, we wanted to talk about some legislative updates. I was very excited to join one of my colleagues in the House, Representative Morse, to introduce on our side Senate Bill 859. Senate Bill 859 would allow school districts the really loudly from a lot of our school districts. There was a really exciting pilot program that Eagle, the state Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy launched a few years ago to trial some EV school buses in a few districts throughout our state. And it is really exciting for a number of reasons, not only for those of us who are passionate about climate, being friendlier to the environment, but also when we think about kids lining up to get the bus at the end of the day. Think about the height of kids and think about where those tailpipes are of those school buses. If we can eliminate those tailpipe emissions with EV school buses, that is a direct way that we can improve air quality for some of our youngest residents when our kids are developing, when that is so important that they have good air quality around them. So we heard from some of our school districts who said, hey, we want to be a part of that. How do we get in line to be a part of that pilot? But also for school districts who want to be able to use their own funds to try this out. There are some pretty strict restrictions around what sinking funds can be used for. So this bill is very simple. It just amends what is an allowable use of sinking funds, because this is a long-term investment, to allow for that. So the bill was introduced. We haven't yet received a committee hearing, but if this is something that you support, please contact us. We'll let you know how to contact committee chairs, and we hope that bill moves forward and that our school districts can take advantage of that and test out some EV school buses and chargers if that is something that they wish to do. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move back into sharing my screen so we can get into good news for the week. I know many of us this morning are digging out from the snowstorm that hit us yesterday and last night. We had all of the weather. It was a very pure Michigan kind of few days where we had warm weather, rain, ice, wind, snow. So please be safe. Help out your neighbors if you are digging out this morning. But some good news to look forward to for the weekend. Winter Blast, the event is happening this weekend in Royal Oak, February 18th through 20th. Admission is free, which is really exciting. So go ahead and get out there. You can find more information on all of the events and activities happening in downtown Royal Oak at winterfest.com. Next up, for those who are fans of penguins, the Polk Penguin Conservation Center at the Detroit Zoo is finally reopened again. This is the largest penguin facility in the world, and it was unfortunately closed in September of 2019 for waterproofing repairs shortly after it opened, actually, and it's an amazing exhibition if you haven't been able over to see it yet. There are now more than 75 king, rockhopper, macaroni, Gen 2, and chinstrap penguins living there. They've made some really phenomenal upgrades to the Penguin Center during the closure, which include a section of glass flooring to allow visitors to see birds swimming below them. There are also more nesting areas, painted rock surfaces, and another snow machine were added for the penguins. Air infiltration systems were upgraded along with better lighting and exhibits centered on our changing climate and the loss of sea ice, which is, a really important thing for all of us to be aware of and how our actions impact the climate and impact these amazing birds. Last but not least, wanted to share a highlight from a resident here. Sean Forbes, a constituent of ours, performs at the Super Bowl halftime show. This year's Super Bowl halftime show included Royal Oak's own Sean Forbes, which is the first time in history where two deaf performers have performed live at the Super Bowl. Dr. Dre added deaf stars Warren Wawa Snipe and Sean Forbes to Sunday's lineup, which also included Eminem, Snoop Dogg, Mary J. Blige, and Kendrick Lamar. And I really loved/hated all of the jokes online about if you were really excited about this halftime show like I was, it might be time to schedule a colonoscopy and a mammogram and to hydrate before bed. So for those of us who are elder millennials and Gen Xers, this was right up our alley and really exciting. Forbes performed using his hands, body, and facial expressions to deliver unique renditions of the songs in American Sign Language as everybody performed on stage in an inclusive and accessible show. And we're going to drop some links so that you can watch the performance, because this was not just about ASL. This was really a full body performance and really exciting. Congratulations, Sean. And we are so proud of you for representing Michigan and the ASL community at the Super Bowl. That takes care of our good news for the week, because we are pre-recorded today. We've just got one question that was pre-submitted that I'm going to go ahead and answer. The question was Jan from Rochester, who submitted a question via our Submit Your Questions form, asked, this may have been answered in previous sessions, but I'm wondering what is the effect of the new redistricting map on your district or where I can find this information? Yes. Little bit of background: in 2018, via ballot initiative, Michiganders voted overwhelmingly to create the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission to take the responsibility of drawing our new legislative and congressional districts out of the hands of legislators like myself and into the hands of real people. So those maps were published on December 30th. They were voted out by the commission, and you can see those if you Google Michigan redistricting and click on the top link, and we will include the link as well. You can go ahead and check out all of the final maps. Now, what this means for me, I currently represent the 13th Senate District, but I am drawn into the new 8th Senate District. So what it looks like at the high level is the district contains 4 of the cities that I currently represent, including Royal Oak, where I live, Clawson, Berkeley, and Birmingham. But instead of going north, the district goes south. So, Jan, unfortunately, it does not include Rochester in the new district, but fear not. We are representing the 13th district through the end of the year. That doesn't change anything. And we are here for you for whatever you need. But I will be running for re-election in a new Senate district, which includes many of the communities in southeastern Oakland County and a significant portion of Detroit as well, kind of along the Woodward corridor. So like I said, check out those maps for more information to see what the districts are looking like. We are still kind of waiting to see people filing in certain districts. So it's going to be a long election year. It's a new one, certainly. But that is what we are looking at. So with that, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can always email us, sign up for our email list. I hope you have a very good weekend, and we will see you next time.